No, you're good.
the video. It's not in there?
Kinda good.
It's gonna annoy me though.
You just can't go past that spot.
All right, guys, thanks for coming out here. We're here for the, probably, I think, the fourth edition of the Crossfit Cobb Paleo seminar. Most of you guys know me. I don't like to hear anything. Everybody knows me, so. Jason Sobczak. Basically, what we're going to do is talk about why we're here, some basics of nutrition, endocrinology, digestion, talking about Neolithic foods, Paleolithic foods, a little bit on the zone diet, a lot on the Paleo diet, eating for specific goals. Obviously, in here, the majority of us are here to lose body fat, put some muscle on. A little bit of cleansing and detoxification, lifestyle tips, some resources, and some closing comments and questions, all right? So typically it's going to run probably about an hour and a half of me talking, and then probably about 30 minutes question and answer after that, okay? All right, so why are we here? Basically, we're all here because we either want to look, feel, perform better, and most of everybody's case is usually all three, right? So exercise alone will only get you so far. Nutrition is going to be dialed in tight in order to get optimal results. How quickly do you want to get results and improve performance? I always tell people, if you're over here and you want to get here, the stricter you are in your diet, the tighter you dial everything in, the quicker you're going to get to your objective, right? So, and then once you're there, you can kind of relax things a little bit. But if you're at 25% body fat and you want to get down to 18, obviously you need to tighten it up a lot. Get there, get to your objective, then you can relax it a little bit. You know, I'm pretty much been in maintenance mode for a while. So now that I'm here, I can go and have cheat meal twice a week, whatever, not a big deal, and kind of still stay right around my, typically I ride right between 9 and 10% body fat. Eat a couple cheat meals a week, whatever, and just do a paleo 90% of the time, okay? Basically, food is fuel for your body. If you put high quality food in your body, you're gonna feel good, you're gonna perform good on WODs, everything like that, right? Just like compare yourself to a race car. If you look at, NASCAR or, some Indianapolis stock car, they're not running 87 octane from, the quick trip in there. They're putting premium quality fuel in there to make those cars go faster. Same thing with your bodies. You guys put high quality food in, it's easily digestible, easy to process. You're gonna feel a lot better as a result, okay? Information in this course is derived from the CrossFit Nutrition Cert, the Paleolithic Solutions Seminar, which I attended with Rob Wolf, working with Dr. Garcia, who's my chiropractor over the past 3+ years, and experiences with myself, friends, clients, so on and so forth over the last 3.5 years, okay? Just as a disclaimer, we can't prescribe a diet for you. Basically anything in here, only a registered dietitian or a doctor can do that. Basically everything in here is for informational purposes only. What you guys take and do with it is entirely up to you, okay? Just a little bit of nutrition basics. Everybody knows about protein, carbs, and fat. They're considered macronutrients. They're your big nutrients within food. Some foods contain all 3 macronutrients. Like let's take for instance an egg. It's got actually a little bit of protein. An average egg's probably got about 6 grams of protein, a gram of carbohydrates, and probably about 5 grams of fat. You may take like another food item, say like a banana, where it's pretty much going to be all carbohydrates. Okay. So is everybody familiar with reading nutrition labels? Pretty much any package or processed food is required by the FDA to have a nutrition label on the package. If you're buying like a watermelon, or if you go to the meat counter and buy a pound of ground beef, it's not necessarily going to have a label on it. So there's a really good website called nutritiondata.com. You can go on there, pick it, put in mango raw, and then select your serving size. I try to do everything in ounces and put in 6 ounces of mango, and it'll spit out exactly basically no protein in it and no fat. It's all carbs, and it'll tell you how many carbs are in it, how many milligrams of potassium, what other micronutrients are in there in the mango or whatever food item you plug in there, okay? And then micronutrients, we're talking about things like vitamins, vitamin C, D, E, K, minerals, potassium, sodium, magnesium, things like that, all right? And those will all be listed on there too. So I'm just going to talk briefly about endocrinology. 2 major hormones that come into effect when we eat: insulin and glucagon. Everybody hears the term, or is a little bit familiar with insulin. Usually associates it with carbohydrate consumption, sugar, soda, and so forth, diabetes. There's another hormone called glucagon. Those two kind of have a teeter-totter relationship and keep each other in check. Typically when you eat carbohydrate-containing foods, you're going to get, your pancreas is going to produce insulin. The rate it produces insulin will be determined upon the glycemic index of that food, right? And then typically glucagon, which is going to keep your insulin levels in check, you're going to get a glucagon response from eating typically dense animal protein meat, okay? So that's why we kind of are talking about diet here and meal planning and all that. You're always going to want to consume protein, carbs, and fat at every meal. You just want to never eat a sweet potato or like nobody should be eating bagels in here anyway, but you ever just want to eat something that's all carbohydrates and no protein with it, try to stagger protein, carbs, and fat at every meal to kind of balance out those two hormones and keep everything on check. We'll get a little bit more into that here in just a few minutes. Basically, just as a definition, insulin is a hormone that has extensive effects on metabolism and other bodily functions. Insulin causes cells in the liver, muscle, and fat tissue to take up glucose from the blood, store it as glycogen in the liver and muscle, and stop the use of fat as an energy source. You want to think of insulin as a storage hormone, all right? Basically, within insulin, carbohydrates are broken down and stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles. Once liver glycogen is full, excess carbohydrates are stored as fat and triglycerides. For health reasons, we want to keep insulin levels low. This is defined as insulin sensitivity. Chronically high blood glucose levels, stress, lack of sleep impair tissue sensitivity to insulin. High insulin levels can lead to increased body fat, high blood fats, and high blood pressure, all right? As we were talking about just a few minutes ago, glucagon as a hormone is also involved in carbohydrate metabolism. It's released when blood glucose levels start to fall too low, causing the liver to convert stored glycogen into glucose and release it into your bloodstream. Glucagon is the counter hormone to insulin. It's released in response to protein and hunger. Basically, it releases fatty acids from storage and glucose from the liver. Lastly, it acts to normalize energy levels. Pretty much when we put people on paleo, we've got them eating protein, carbs, and fat together as a meal. They're like, wow, I've got so much more sustained energy throughout the day. Whereas if somebody's just eating all carbohydrates, you're spiking your insulin levels, you got yourself jacked up, next thing you know, it crashes, you're falling off like, oh, I'm so completely tired. So those, like I said, staggering protein, carbs, and fat together at every meal will definitely get you balanced out. Glucagon is critical for maintaining insulin sensitivity. Its production is promoted by the consumption of dense solid animal protein. These two hormones must be kept in a balance together. Glycemic index, like I said, mentioned a few minutes ago, this is the rate by which food affects blood glucose levels, all right? A little bit on digestion. How does food get into our bodies for use as fuel? So you put it in your mouth, obviously you chew it up, saliva comes into play, goes down your esophagus, stomach acids start to break down proteins, eventually goes into your large intestine, colon intestine, more nutrients are absorbed through there, and eventually it exits it out, all right? You definitely get more technical for this episode. That's all we really need to know, right? All right, so a little bit about Neolithic foods. Basically, the Neolithic period goes back to when mankind started farming, which is about 10,000 years, okay? 10,000 years ago. Before that was a Paleolithic period, and that's where we're going to draw our foods from. Basically, mankind started farming 10,000 years ago. That's when we started cultivating grains, legumes, things like that. 5,000 years ago, started milking cows and goats or whatever, consuming dairy products. In the last, 50, 60, 100 years, started making food in factories and things like that, man-made processed food in boxes, bags, cans, etc. So really the last, even more so probably the last 30 years, like high fructose corn syrup, all that, we've done more to change our diet in the last, 20, 30, 40, 50 years than we have in all of mankind, which goes back 2.5 million years ago. So the whole thing with paleo is just taking a step back and going back to eating the foods that we as humans were genetically not designed to eat, because we're not much different DNA-wise from our Paleolithic ancestors, Caveman. That's how we come up with the name Caveman diet. All right. Basically, has anybody seen the movie Food Inc? Could get it probably on Netflix or download it off the web. It's a really good must-see movie. It's just kind of all about industrial agriculture and how now farming really isn't even farming. It's more industrialized agriculture. I mean, they're blowing chickens up in 6 months and putting them, to slaughter like that quick, whereas before I think it would take like 2 years. As a result, food's definitely gotten cheaper. Like the cost of chicken per pound now is probably, I think, cheaper now than it was in the 1950s because of all the mechanization, industrialization within everything like that. But is it really better for you? Now, they put antibiotics in chicken that kind of blows them up. There's an ingredient called roxasone, which has arsenic in it. I think most of y'all know that arsenic is toxic to the body, but it's allowed to be in chicken feed. And like I said, there's an ingredient they put in there called roxasone. Pretty much most of your big manufacturers, Tyson and Purdue and stuff like that. I don't know about Purdue now. I think they're trying to get off that a little bit, but they're known to use ingredients like that because it blows the chicken up, and you can turn a 5-pound chicken into a 20-pound chicken and get it to market a lot quicker. All right. Just like the quality of food we eat affects the quality of our muscle and tissue and everything like that. The quality of food that's given to a farm animal affects the quality of meat that you guys ultimately end up consuming. So definitely something to check out. It'll kind of scare you and make you sad at the same time. Going back to Neolithic foods, do our bodies know how to handle all these man-made processed foods that we have today? And if you look around in society, I would think not. People have more weird diseases now than, especially Americans. Like we have an abundance of food here, and we're living longer, but are we really living better? Not really. We've got a ton of diseases, and they got a lot of good drugs drugs that kind of mask the symptoms, but we're not really living better. And if you look at people in other parts of the world who are eating more of their original native diet, going out and fishing and eating fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, they don't have the type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol and fibromyalgia and all the other kind of autoimmune diseases and inflammatory conditions that we have nowadays. All right. So how's all these processed foods? You see, like I said, you've seen a rise in autoimmune diseases, which is basically where your immune system mistakes some part of your body as a pathogen and attacks it. Actually, I've got a list. Printed this out from Wikipedia. Tons of autoimmune diseases to choose from. So let's just take a look at what we got here. Some of these common ones. MS is on there. Trying to think out. Hepatitis is actually on there. Just different types of cancer. Celiac disease, which is typical gluten intolerance. So a lot of people know about that one. Irritable bowel syndrome. Let's see, Crohn's disease, Cushing's syndrome. Different types of dermatitis, diabetes, eczema. The list goes on and on and on. And they've specifically tied a lot of these autoimmune diseases to people consuming grains, gluten, dairy, inflammatory foods that basically aggravate your body. So by doing the paleo diet, it's a low inflammatory diet, hopefully help you avoid some of these conditions, all right? Inflammation, it's basically a process by which the body's white blood cells and chemicals protect us from bacteria, viruses, and other foreign substances. Certain foods are neutral to the body when you eat them. Certain foods are actually inflammatory to the body.